On this episode of the podcast, we try to go from zero to hero and prove that we can go the distance. We watch Disney's Hercules, and you're listening to Geeked Out.
Popcorn in our hands, ready for the show. From the classics to the blockbusters, we're always in the know. Throwing references like confetti, we keep it real. Geeked Out Podcast, we to make you feel. We're the critics you can trust.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Geeked Out. My name is Kyle.
And I'm Juan Chili's. Or Juan. Just call me that.
I think I'll just call you Juan. The other one's a mouthful.
Yeah,
So as said, we watched Hercules, and we are going to be starting our mini-series where we are going to be talking about we're going to do 4 movies of the Disney animation renaissance, which took place from roughly 89 to 99, and it includes a total of 10 movies. This was Juan's pick, and he chose for our first movie for us to do Hercules. Now, right off the bat, I will say that I do not have a huge connection to this movie in terms of growing up with it. I do vividly remember when I saw this. I saw this movie as a part of a double feature at a drive-in movie theater in Grand Bend.
Okay, what was the other one?
Air Bud.
Oh, that's a pretty good pairing.
So I remember Air Bud a lot more than I remember this one. And I don't know what it is. I never really connected to this movie as a kid, so I think that's why out of all the movies on that list of 10 that we had discussed, this is definitely in the bottom tier for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's think.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie or I didn't.
It's definitely not a bad movie.
Didn't enjoy it. This is not one of the ones that highly impacted me as a kid. What about you? Was this a theater experience? I mean, we were 11 years old when this came out?
Probably around 10. I definitely saw this in the theater. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, I love this movie. It definitely made an impact for me growing up. I just being a big fan of just the Greek mythology and Hercules. I was on a big Hercules high at that time because the show, there was a Hercules show. It's not really connected to the Disney movie, but and then I was a big fan of that. I was a big fan of Xena and just that whole mythology surrounding it. I was a big fan, and the way they set it up here in the Disney movie is one of my favorite depictions of the Greek gods. And I was such a fan of the movie that I was a big fan of the animated show that came out after this movie came out. I remember watching that and was a huge fan, and my love of the movie definitely carried on over to the TV show, and I love the TV show as well. So yeah, this definitely, but it's not one of those movies that I go back and watch. I haven't seen this movie before my rewatch recently. It's been quite a long time. But I was such a fan, and I seen it so much around the time, probably that summer, that year, and pairing with the TV show that I kind of just the movie was always in my head. I always even rewatching it so many years later, I remember so much of the movie. So yeah. Out of all the Disney Renaissance movies, it would be higher on my list than yours, but it's not one of the ones I go and rewatch, which it makes sense because a lot of people that I know also like this movie, and it would be regarded as one of their favorites, but it doesn't get talked about as much. It's one of the most underrated Disney animated movies, in my opinion.
Okay, well, All right, so here's where I'm kind of coming from. So, like I said, I never really. I hate to use the word identify because I don't identify with any of these movies. They're all cartoon characters, but this
Yeah,
movie never really hit me the way that, like I said, some of these other ones did. And this is really gonna, I think, really gonna bug you. But if I were to look at that list of 10 that we had gone through, which I'm going to say this now, I'm thinking maybe at the end when we do our the wrap up of our fourth episode, maybe we rank what our 10 those 10 would be in order for us personally, just real quick at the end. But I will say that this movie probably falls into the 8 spot for me. On
okay.
that whole list, there's
Oh, that.
only 2 movies that I dislike more. I hate. I'm not saying I dislike this movie. It's just though it's at the bottom for me, and when I
It's
was looking when I was watching
maybe
it, when you say talk about like the Greek mythology, that was actually one of the things that bothered me. Is
because it's not accurate.
yeah,
I mean,
and
it's a kids movie. You can't.
I understand that the whole thing with Hera was not actually Hercules' father, but or
Yeah,
Hercules' mother, because Zeus disguised himself as a mortal, actually disguised himself as Hercules' mortal mother's
yeah,
husband, and
yeah. Come
like
on,
I
man.
get they're not going to put that in the movie, but even in terms of, and I know they did this because they needed a villain, but like even in Greek mythology, Hades is not an evil plotting person. Like he's just the steward of the underworld. That's all he is. And
Yeah,
I get that
I
they
mean,
needed a villain. It's just I don't
they
know.
just made up their own rules to it, just kind of like how Marvel did with Thor in the Norse mythology. I mean, Thor
No,
has
I
blonde,
understand that. I
it
don't know.
just didn't.
And
It just
I
didn't. It's
think
not.
had
It
I
didn't land with you. It landed with some people, and some people it didn't.
well, that's
I
what I was
get
going to
it.
say. I think had this hit me harder as a kid, I'd be able to ignore a lot of that now as an adult. But I probably haven't watched this movie before this rewatch in probably 20 years,
Hmm.
if not more. So it's been a long time since I've watched this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But before we get too far into it, we're going to go through the details behind the movie. So, as I said, Disney's Hercules was originally released on June 27th of 1997 on an $85 million budget. It had a worldwide box office return of $252.7 million. It currently sits at 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, and the critics at Rotten Tomatoes have this at an 83%, whereas the fans have it at slightly lower at 76%. Now, this movie was directed by the absolute legends Ron Clements and John Musker. It was also written by Ron Clements, John Musker, Donald McHenry, Bob Shaw, and Irene Michi. Mechie, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce that. There were also a lot of other different writers that had story credits and things like that. I think IMDb listed 18 total writers for this film. I didn't list them all. That's a lot of names. I just didn't go through them. Um, the cast of this movie is Tate Donovan, Susan Egan, James Woods, Danny DeVito, Rip Torn, and the film is narrated by Charlton Heston, which I was shocked by. I didn't know that.
Mm.
So the film is about the son of Zeus and Hera is stripped of his immortality as an infant and must become a true hero in order to reclaim it so that he may return to Mount Olympus and reclaim his status as a god. First off, the opening of the movie with the muses.
Yeah.
I don't like this the way they frame this movie with so okay, the reason I say this is why have a narration plus an additional narration of the muses. It's so redundant.
It's a gamble that it worked for me personally. I really enjoyed the opening.
I mean, I think what they did is um, the reason they did it with the muses is there's only a couple songs in this movie, and I think they give the muses like two of them, so it's almost like they added these characters to have more songs in the movie, and they also their songs kind of accompany or overlay over different montages instead of just having like the score of the film do that. But I didn't like their songs. I'm sorry.
I did, man. Personally, I do. I like the gospel
See, I'm not a guy.
vibe to it.
I don't vibe with the gospel music.
Okay.
I mean, there's one instance where I would say I did really enjoy a gospel performance. Two actually, Sister Act, but was the scene in Blues Brothers when they're at the church, and it's
Okay. Yeah. That's a good
James Brown doing it.
one.
But yeah, I
Well, yeah.
just
I mean, personally, I grew up in the church, and very soulful, and I just like those type of songs. So, it really hit for me. And honestly, yeah, the thing about the songs is that aside from like Zero to Hero, there isn't anything that's like, and I think this is why it's not talked about as much, is that they don't really have any iconic songs to the point where it's etched in people's heads as much as like a whole new world or Hakuna Matata or something like that. Uh, they just didn't have that type of song, and I think that's what weighs it down a lot for me.
yeah.
But even though the songs are good, they're kind of they're forgettable.
I mean,
And
I really
but
do
I
enjoy
personally
Go
like
the Distance.
Go the Distance was good, but I think for me, uh, who's like the is it Michael Bolton who sings it? Not the song in the movie, but like in general, who sings the song? Like whose song is it?
I will take a quick look. It is on
I want to say it's Michael Bolton.
my kid's Spotify playlist. So that's I can pull that up real quick. Roger Bart is the guy's
Okay.
name.
Well, whoever sings it, I remember that performance more because the person who sung the original version had a stronger voice. And as much as I liked the song, I didn't like the person who was singing the song in this Hercules movie.
So you almost prefer like the soundtrack version as opposed to the one that's in the actual movie.
Yeah, if they would have got a stronger singer, I think it would have landed harder. It would have hit harder.
I get what you're saying.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's just the biggest for me. It's the biggest flaw of the movie is as much as I did like a lot of the music, none of it is iconic enough to be in the zeitgeist of iconic Disney movies.
yeah, yeah. And you know what's funny? I was kind of thinking to myself as I was watching this, and I had suggested this mini series topic. So, but you immediately when I suggested, you immediately jumped on it and was like, yeah, we're ready to do it. But then as I was watching the movie, I kind of had to laugh at myself because you and I have had a lot of conversations in the past about how you really do not like musicals.
Mhm.
And all I kept thinking was at least
Some
like
get it. Some get a pass though.
9 out of the 10 movies that we're picking from are musicals.
Yeah, well, I mean the Disney movies are different because are they
Oh,
they're technically musicals, but it's just the animated factor for it for me doesn't like I don't put it in the same category.
okay.
Um,
I've
yeah,
always kind of found that funny where you get people
and a lot of
and
musicals, like live action musicals, they have like these big dance numbers and
hell yeah,
there's not always that in a Disney movie. They'll just sing and like you know, there's not a
Yes,
whole
there
dance number.
is.
But yeah, it's just not every single one. But
You
maybe it's just the
hold on.
animated
You cut out
factor
there for a
for me
second.
that doesn't make. I
Yeah,
get
I
it's
was
probably
wondering
just
if that.
it's just the animated factor for me that doesn't
I was
allow it.
thinking it was the animation as well, like coupled with that nostalgia of watching these as kids.
Hmm. Exactly.
But
It
yeah,
could
I
be that
just kind
too.
of had to chuckle to myself while watching. But
And I don't like rewatch a whole lot of Disney movies anyways, personally. I don't go
I do all the
rewatch
time.
them. So,
So it's
yeah.
it's really funny when I sit down. So my kids, my two girls, a lot of times will sit down to watch a movie, and I usually gravitate towards Disney Plus and the Disney Pixar movies because there's just so many more of them for them to kind of pick from, and my girls love music, so it's easy to pick one of those movies for them. But so many times they're picking Turning Red or Princess and the Frog, which don't get me wrong are good movies, but they're the newer ones. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there going, "Girl, we should watch Aladdin or the," and it's like, no, no, I want to watch something. So I want to watch Frozen for the 4 millionth time.
Yeah, it's just different era of children,
It
different
is. I
things
mean,
they
don't get me wrong. They've
so
watched a lot of these and they love them too, which is a really exciting thing for me to watch them enjoy the movies that I grew up with.
mhm.
But so, all right. So as we go through this movie, so the first act, I guess, of the movie would be called or go under Hades seeks to overthrow Zeus, attempting to turn the infant Hercules mortal and kill him. The plan partially fails, leaving Hercules on Earth with divine strength, but no home. To reclaim his godhood, he trains with the satyr Phil to become a hero. Now, it says he has no home. He's obviously. First, we have to discuss Pain and Panic, who steal him from his crib on Mount Olympus and attempt to turn him mortal. Now, I'm going to pull up here who plays the other one, but I know for a fact. Well, because one of them is Bobcat Goldthwait,
That's how big that man was in the 90s. I
but
don't like his voices.
the other guy
I
is
don't even know
Matt.
exactly what you're talking about. He didn't even say his name.
So Bobcat Goldthwait is Pain, and Matt Frewer is Panic. These guys annoy the shit out of me.
Really? They
Yeah,
annoy?
but again, I'm watching it more as an adult, where because I don't have a ton of that nostalgia.
But it's part of the Disney formula, though. There's always like those annoying sidekick characters, kind of like the hyenas and uh, Lion King.
Yes, but the hyenas is Whoopi Goldberg and Cheech fucking Marin.
But they're also annoying, laughing hyenas. So it's kind of like it's part of the DNA of Disney is that
Yeah,
archetype. And some it just didn't land for you that those type of bumbling idiots in
I
this
mean,
story.
some of what they did kind of landed, but I will say I did not. I didn't laugh very much during this movie, so I kind of didn't really view it too much of a comedy. There were certain parts like I did enjoy when they're giving him the potion or poison, whatever you want to call it, and then he later does they turn into snakes, and he because that's an actual part of mythology that although in the mythology I believe it was Hera who sent the snakes. It's a whole other thing. We won't get deep into that. But that was something out of mythology where he, like, as a baby, basically killed two snakes that were trying to kill him and so on and so forth. But he's found by this husband and wife who I guess aren't able to have kids and they decide they're going to raise him as their own. And we immediately jump forward to him as a teenager, and apparently he has the strength of a thousand men, but he has no idea how to control himself.
Doesn't know his own, can't control his own strength, which makes him kind of a martyr or a an outcast. And that's just like yeah, and they the townspeople make it known that he's different, and there
It,
lies his struggle for most of the movie is trying to find his place where he belongs.
I will say it's such a funny or such an interesting dichotomy the way that if you were to look at a movie where there was this super strong quote unquote jock, I guess you would say, he would be in a typical movie formula, he would be the bully. But in this case, it because it makes him stand out and he's usually using this strength and it ends up accidentally causing chaos, he is now the one who's ostracized and kind of bullied for what his issues are. And I guess people realize that he's such a good guy, he's never gonna kind of turn on his own bullies, so they're not afraid of him. But I mean, if I met a guy like that, regardless of how nice or kind he was, I'm not saying shit because if this man can lift a building and I piss him off just too much, I'm dead.
Yeah, true. But it's just one of those things where, if you're different, you're, treated like a freak, that whole, stereotype that you see in a bunch
They
of
did
movies.
it. They did call him a freak at one point. I was like, that's a little far.
Yeah, they're trying to, nail just nail it home that, yeah, he doesn't belong there. And yeah, it just adds to his motivation to get to godhood so
Yeah,
he can be with his family.
I mean, and among this these first 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is of the movie, we get to see who I believe is the real star of this movie. And the more I think about it, as I look back on some of these Disney movies, sometimes my favorite character is the villain.
Yeah, I mean, what made Disney, Disney, in my opinion, uh, especially with the Renaissance or even like the Golden Age, is just like villains were villains, and you know their main motivation was to kill the hero. And I'm glad that we had this in this movie because more current Disney movies, the villains usually some type of trauma caused by a family member or
Yeah.
something like that. And I'm just glad that it's good to go back and to see a movie where a villain could just be a villain, just be the bad guy. And when you give it to a guy like James Woods, he's definitely going to knock it out of the park. He knew the assignment and he delivered it. He was
Oh,
great.
he's so good in this
He's
role.
definitely, yeah, I would put him up there as iconic Disney villains. He's definitely one of them because he has the recipe for it. He's he's evil. He's loud with it. He's proud with it, and he's a little flamboyant, which I kind of like my Disney villains to be a little flamboyant too.
I think what gets me with him is you can kind of tell the way you hear a lot of his lines that James Woods improved a lot of his stuff. Especially, I was doing some research and the fast talking way that Hades kind of speaks. That all came from James Woods. Like, and
Yeah, it was
I
a good
I
choice.
can't because of that I can't imagine the character being anything but that way.
Yeah, he could have been more menacing. Could have been more less of a personality, more just evil with an evil voice and an evil demeanor. But no, they added some colorful colorful personality on him, and that's the way to go, man. It worked for the movie
And his plan is such a like it says he's got to wait 18 years. The fates tell him who
because
the
yeah,
fates are another one, just sharing one eyeball between the three of them.
I like that. I
I
like
didn't
that.
mind
I don't
that
know why.
gag,
I just like that. I like
but they tell him that in 18 years the planets will align and they'll be able to open the cage that Zeus threw the Titans in, however many years or millennia ago that was. And so basically, his plan is he's going to wait these 18 years, unleash the Titans, and he's going to take over Mount Olympus. But to do so, he has to get rid of Hercules because they say something about if he lives, if Hercules fights, you're guaranteed to lose or something like that.
Mhm.
So that's the reason that he goes out. It's not just because he dislikes the kid. This is a reason behind it that it's been prophesized that Hercules is the only one who can defeat him.
yes,
Now,
and his only goal at that moment when he hears that is kill this guy, kill his baby.
which
I like
I,
that.
but again, it goes back to a lot of like, and I know it is a trope from all kinds of movies, not just Disney, but I always kind of equate it
A lot.
kind of like a James Bond villain plan. Like, why are you sending these two bumbling idiots? If you want to get this done, go down there, you take care of it, so you know it's done, and just be done with it.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing. It's a trope for a reason. Because if
I,
they didn't, if they went the logical way, then there wouldn't be much of a movie. But yeah,
okay, let's get to Phil,
yeah,
Mr. DeVito, who, I mean, in the scene we meet him, he's like a predator, like a sexual predator.
a little horned up, a little horny, a little horned up.
He's fucking spying. I think he's spying on. He calls them nymphs.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, what a. I know that kids aren't going to understand what this kind of is, but and I wouldn't have picked up on this when I was 10, 11 when I saw this, but like, what an interesting way to introduce the person who's going to basically be the Mickey to Hercules as Rocky.
hmm I mean, I don't know the character in Greek mythology. Maybe there's a little bit of that precedence
Yeah,
in
I don't know much about him either.
mythology there.
I do
So
know that in
maybe
mythology he was a human, not a satyr.
okay.
That much I did read.
hmm But yeah, aside from him being horny and wanting to kiss women, every woman that he sees, I appreciate Danny DeVito being chosen as the character in this movie. He's such a iconic voice for like the little schlubby, little overweight type of characters. So
Yeah.
much so that whenever there is a that type of character, he's instantly fan casted as the number one choice. For example, he's the number one choice to play Wario, the like I don't know, it's like the rival or whatever, the opposite of Mario. I don't know
Yep, I could
the
totally
most
see
different.
that.
He is like the number one fan cast, and he's been the number one fan cast forever. And it makes sense because he's really good at portraying those type of characters. And
Well, it's funny.
yeah,
It's
man,
funny you kind
I
of
like
put
him
it
in
that
this
way
movie.
because as you were explaining that, like all I could think of in my head was if Billy Crystal would have said no, he probably would have been Mike Wazowski in Monsters Inc. But
Totally see it.
he goes through all these. So Phil basically is a trainer of quote unquote heroes,
Yes.
and I like that he Hercules hits his head on like a piece of wood. He goes, "Oh, that's from the Argo, Jason and the Argonauts," and all that stuff. And then he brings up Achilles and his heel, and again Achilles. And nowadays, all I think of is Brad Pitt and Troy. And he says to him, like, I've always just wanted to train that one hero that everybody kind of looked at and went, that's Phil's boy. Like, he wants the recognition that he's never been able to get. And Hercules says, then train me, because like I'm not going anywhere. And I do like the funny thing. When Hercules first goes up to him, Phil says to him, I have 2 words for you. And he says, I am retired. The reason that's a joke is because in Greek, the phrase I am retired is only 2 words.
Yeah, I think I remember this before. That's funny.
I did not like his song. I didn't find there was much of a rhythm or melody to it. And
I didn't. It wasn't.
I don't really need to ever hear Danny DeVito sing.
I didn't mind. I didn't mind it, man. He did a fine job. Again, none of these songs, for whatever reason, had that magic to where it's iconic status. But they are all not bad songs. They're all decent. It's just kind of forgettable at the end of the day. And yeah, this was one of them. Like I do like them. I just yeah, man. It's not gonna get stuck in your head any of these songs at all.
No, again, the only one I would say would be Go the Distance would be the only one that might get stuck in at least my head a little bit.
If it gets stuck in your head for like a day or two, maybe a week, but not for long, not for a while.
Yeah, it's the songs are definitely something to be desired. Even when we get to Meg or Megara or whatever her name is, even her song,
it was the weakest song for sure. And I wish they would have just heard the song out and put more of the those ladies, the mooses, are they?
The Muses, yeah.
Muses, yeah, the muses. I wish they would have just. I wish they would have been to add more of the narration, to be honest. But
so after Phil trains him a little bit, Hercules arrives in Thebes, and becomes a celebrity by defeating various monsters sent by Hades. Despite his fame, Zeus tells him he hasn't yet reached true hero status. Meanwhile, Hercules falls for Meg, unaware she is being used by Hades to find his weakness. That was an interesting but also kind of obvious little point in the story that you find out Meg is working for Hades, and you can tell that she's genuinely starting to feel something, maybe fall for Hercules, and she says to Hades, like, he doesn't have a weakness. You're not going to find one. And he says, oh, I think he has a weakness, without saying it. In other words, being like, you're his weakness. Because he may not have a physical weakness, but if I do something to endanger or threaten you, all bets are off. He'll do pretty much anything to protect you because he loves her.
Yeah, at that point, yeah, they fall in love with each other, and yeah, she would definitely at that moment become his only weakness. But I do appreciate that they didn't stretch out the whole twist with Meg being working with the against her will, the Hades there. They kind of let you know early on, like pretty much almost immediately when you're introduced to her, you know
Yeah, she
that
made a deal
working
to
with them.
save a guy she was in love with, and he basically promptly ran away with another woman. which is why she's so hardened against the idea of love and men and things like that. I actually did get a kick out of when they're flying in on Pegasus, who we didn't mention. Pegasus has come back to Hercules as he's an adult. They're flying into Thebes, and Phil calls it the Big Olive instead of the Big Apple, like New York.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why that got a little chuckle out of me. But the other one was, so one of these, the first monster he has to fight is this Hydra monster thing.
Yeah.
Hail Hydra. But
It's one of the highlights of the movie.
I like, well, actually, one of the parts I like about it is the two kids who are Pain and Panic, disguised, are under the rock, and as he's running up, the one kid goes, "Somebody call 1X11." I laughed pretty hard at that because obviously in Roman numerals, that's 911.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I got a kick out of that. I just...
Yeah. It's just one of those.
I don't know, it's just one of those things that, I probably wouldn't have picked up on at 10 years old because I don't think I really knew Roman numerals very well when I was 10.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. Now, I don't remember, or I don't know the actual mythology about a Hydra, but I know the whole thing is cut one head off, it grows another, or two more, whatever. But that, I mean, you have to think that after a while, you cut off enough of its heads, it's going to die. This thing ends up with like 40 or 50 heads.
It had a bunch.
And the way he ends up killing it is just by crushing all of it under a bunch of rocks. Well, is that real? Like, is that killing it because the body is dead too? I almost half expected this thing to show up later and just.
I mean,
I don't know.
It just got crushed to death, just like any other creature. You just buried it under some heavy rock. It just get crushed. Only superpower is that if you cut its head, it grows back. But beyond that, it's just a regular, more mortal creature.
Okay.
And I do appreciate the fact that it was well, first of all, I do appreciate that this movie is a hand drawn animated movie. You know what I mean? Because it's a super rare thing nowadays that any movie is drawn by hand. So anytime I get to watch and see and know that it's a hand drawn movie, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And the fact that they used this movie and they added parts like 3D model of the into this 2D movie, I think it was great. It still held up.
Yeah, the animation looks
It's really
fantastic
good.
throughout the whole movie.
Hmm. And that part, and that part would probably, I don't know if your daughter's seen that part, but it could probably, if you're a little bit younger, that might scare you a little bit.
Yeah, there are certain movies that they come to certain parts and they'll be like, oh, I'm kind of scared, and I'll try to say like, oh, it's just a movie, like nothing's gonna hurt you, and usually by the time it's almost like by the time I'm done saying that, the scene that they're scared of is over.
Mhm.
So they don't they kind of turn away a little bit, but they're not like they don't like sit there and freak out or panic or anything like that, which is a big positive.
But
Uh,
I did enjoy the scene. I think
it works very well. It
overall
looks
fight,
really good.
it looks good. Yeah, the 3D looks good. The fight overall was really good. It was pretty tense for a while because you didn't know how he was going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And
Well, especially when the first head eats him and he has to cut himself out from the inside, a la Agent K and Men in Black.
yeah,
That was the first
yeah.
thing I thought of, probably because we just watched that a couple weeks
Anytime I
ago.
see that now, anytime I see somebody getting out of something, I refer to that movie, Men in Black. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, more same with this one. Yeah, it was a super effective fight, and yeah, he gains his the town's respect after that. Sure, as he should, defeated this
Well,
crazy ass, this crazy monster.
he gains the town's respect and he becomes what he later refers to as the most famous person in Greece. And we go into like he has his own store, he has action figures, he has Air Herc, which I thought was kind of funny. He has different
Yeah, it's a
the
definitely good.
sandals because they weren't wearing shoes. But yeah, he's got all this merchandise because he's now like a celebrity, like a sports star or something like that. And everybody wants
Mhm.
to meet him and talk to him and be around him. And the kids always going up to him. And now all of a sudden he's no longer bullied. He's revered.
Yeah, and I always appreciate that in my story where the person, it says it in one of the songs. He does go from a zero to a hero, and I always appreciate that in my story when he gets the proper respect he deserves.
Well, and he will say that the song was very appropriate for what they used it for because this is where you get Zero to Hero and you get a montage of him defeating all of these various different enemies and foes that Hades sends against him. And this is what makes him famous and revered. And finally, we get to the end of the song, the end of the montage, and we hear Hades basically saying he has 24 hours left to accomplish what his goals are, or he says it's 18 years, like basically down the drain. And as we said earlier, he's realized that he can use Meg because she is Hercules' greatest witness. And in using that little piece of knowledge, he strips Hercules of his strength in a lopsided deal to protect Meg. When Meg sacrifices herself to save him, the contract breaks and Hercules' power returns. He defeats the Titans and saves Meg's soul from the underworld. This act of self-sacrifice restores his godhood, though he ultimately chooses a mortal life with Meg. So this is when the Titans kind of get released. I think, are there only 4? So again, in mythology, the Cyclops is not a Titan, but in the movie, he's lumped in with them. Is there only the 4 of them? Did I miss something? There's the ice.
Only
Now, there is one thing I wanted to talk about before I went into that. I want to skip back real quick for a second. So 2 little things during all of this. It shows while Hercules, after one day he's exhausted from fighting these things, him and Meg go out and kind of play hooky and kind of have a little date between the 2 of them. And it refers to them going to see a play about Oedipus. And even Hercules has a line where he says, "Man, that Oedipus play, I thought my family was wild." And I was like, oh my God, you put that in a kid's movie.
Yeah,
Now,
it's a wink and a nod to the adults or just the people that know the mythology.
so that was one that would have gone over kids' heads. The other one that kind of surprised me is when he's posing for this vase, he is wearing
Oh yeah.
the skin of Scar.
Hmm. I knew that for like a long time. It's
Did
one of those
you?
like Easter eggs that was I recognized it when I watched it as a kid. I just know Scar's one of my favorite, like, if not Disney villains, just Disney characters.
Scar is my favorite
So,
Disney character.
so I definitely recognize him immediately.
I, don't you think that's a little strange to put that just blatantly right there, center screen in a kids movie?
I mean, the way they threw it on the floor, yeah, I would say, but just wearing it, I mean, it's
Well, he's not alive
of
if you're wearing it.
of the time. Yeah, I mean, if they would have just wore it, it would have been fine. But yes, the fact that he threw it on the ground and you see, the dead skin of Scar, kind of. Yeah, I mean, kids aren't gonna really recognize it unless, probably not.
I mean, I couldn't.
But I,
I've.
I definitely did. It didn't really affect me or anything. I was like, oh shit, it's Scar.
I mean, it kind of bothered me because, like I said, he's my favorite Disney character. But
But hey, I mean, he definitely met his end at the end of the Lion King, so it's only natural
no, I
that
get what you're saying.
something would be made of him. So, and he's a villain. He's
He's
a
the
villain.
best.
He's a villain. I don't know. Trying to murder your your damn near
Long
ancient
live the
nephew
king.
there. You know what I'm saying? So,
So yeah, so getting back to where we were, um, first things first, Phil accidentally discovers that Meg is working for Hades, tries to tell Hercules. Obviously, he doesn't buy it because why would
I
he?
mean, he's on cloud nine.
How could she ever possibly betray him? Well, because he looks at the world through the eyes of a child. And he has no. It's weird for someone who they portray as like had these bullies and fought against all that stuff. He really has very little knowledge of how the world or human beings operate.
I think it was just a writing angle to just let you know how different. Like he is a god, so he like a good-hearted god too, and a god and a good-hearted character. So that there's going to be a bit of being naive and just maybe just a little bit too of just like a pure hearted character. I've seen it in other characters much like him, that same kind of style, like the same kind of just like the hero with a good heart and
Superman,
kind
sorry.
of a Superman or like Goku or like Naruto or certain characters that are just way more naive than they should be, living in a world where people get betrayed and them being of
It's
a
the
certain
typical
age.
like Captain America super goody goody.
Yeah, pretty much the world will never change those type of characters. They'll always be good, and he's just one of those characters.
Yeah, they're desperate to see the best in everybody.
Mhm.
But like right from this point to the end of the movie, we are moving at a clip because all of this stuff happens. It's seemingly what feels like about a minute and a half
Yeah, yeah.
because
This movie
she
takes a couple moments to breathe, but once it goes, once like it definitely has a little bit of time to breathe in between acts, but there isn't many breaks. And yeah, other than that, this movie is just going, going, going.
well, especially here because you go from Phil discovers Meg in Hades, Hercules basically calls bullshit. Pain and Panic disguise themselves as a pink Pegasus to lure Pegasus and trap him.
It looked like a
Hey,
fucking. He looked like My Little Pony.
I was gonna say the same thing.
I was like, that. I don't know any of the names. One called Blossom or some shit. I don't, I don't know.
I don't know My
But
Little Pony.
I don't know the names, but it looks like, yeah, it looked definitely, yeah,
But yeah,
they were
very,
probably
very
doing that on
bright
purpose.
pink, just like they are. But yeah, so then Hades tricks Hercules into giving up his strength to save Meg. And
Which
when
is,
that
a
happens,
classic.
the Titans are
Like,
released and the gods basically go to war. Now, you said this is the way you kind of like the way the gods are depicted. Is that because of like the multicolored, or is there another like
yeah, I think, yeah, it's like just the bright, the vibrance,
I
mainly
like the fact that the differentiating between a human and a god is the
glow.
gods kind of glow and almost have like an aura completely surrounding them.
Yeah, and they all each have their own, pretty much different color separating themselves. I kind of like that too.
Yeah, yeah, and they um, Hercules, because the other three, I don't know their names, but are climbing. I keep wanting to say Everest, but they're climbing Mount Olympus to get to the gods. Hercules is trying to fight this Cyclops, which, I mean, I gotta be honest, it just looked like a giant clay face from
It's just like
Batman.
a, I mean, yeah, I guess it just looked like a, any like big giant,
He's like
like
building sized.
yeah, and he's like fat, like grotesque, but
But
like,
even the way like they have like the fat and the skin, it just kept reminding me of the cartoon Clayface from Batman.
oh, okay, I didn't get that. It just, I've seen, I've seen giant Cyclops creatures that just similar in other uh like video games and stuff mostly,
Yeah,
but yeah, it was okay. It was fine. It did kind of, that scene of him getting beat up when he's human with the stripped of his power kind of reminded me of Thor in the scene where he's fighting the destroyer in the town just before he gets his powers back.
I don't know. I don't remember most of Thor. I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's not one of their best, but I enjoyed it for the most part. It just reminded me of that. It was the same kind of vibes.
Yeah, I know what you're referring to.
Hmm.
In the midst of all this, the Fates, who part of their job is not only to predict future things and whatnot, but they also cut the threads of people as they die. And lo and behold, Meg succumbs to her injuries, and the Fates cut her thread, and
Yeah,
her
they
soul goes to the
killed her
underground
character.
or the underworld. Sorry, and Hercules goes down uh, to try and rescue her. Now, when he goes, he basically says to Hades, "Take me instead. Trade my life for hers. I will self-sacrifice more or less." And Hades basically says to him like, "Well, you got to go get her out of the swirling soul pool." I don't know what else you would call it.
Pool of
But
souls.
as Hercules jumps in, he says to him, "But nobody has ever come out of there." Whoa.
Yeah, he said you'll die before you reach her.
Yeah, before you reach her. I wonder why he would say that. Oh, that's right, because he's about to prove him wrong. So Hercules does. He gets it, and it's a very interesting way they do this animation is the longer he's in this pit and the further down he goes, the more his body starts, they animate it as he's like growing old. And obviously it's like he's gonna end up dying because now he's old age type thing. And as he reaches for Meg, the fates go to cut Hercules' thread, but wouldn't you know it, he grasps her hand and they try to cut his thread and it turns to gold because he has proven himself a true hero and has regained his status of a god. And
Yeah,
climbs
sacrifice
out.
himself. That's the only way you can be a true hero. You gotta sacrifice yourself. You gotta change
Now,
your
is
life.
it that he has to sacrifice himself or
Or
sacrifice
just
himself for
like,
love?
I think just in general, not even just for love. You sacrifice yourself for another life.
Because I did like earlier when he meets up with Zeus's statue, whatever, and he's like, "Dude, I've fought every fucking enemy they've thrown at me. Everybody loves me. I'm famous. What else have I got to do?"
True, but he was never in a danger where he was close to death. He didn't
No,
really, it wasn't a real hero moment. And, you know, he
it's
didn't
like all,
understand that
to use the
until,
analogy I used earlier. It's like all the bums that Mickey had Rock fight after he beat Apollo before Clubber Lang, before a real hungry competitor got up against him.
yeah, being a good fighter or just, defending somebody isn't what makes a true hero. Defending somebody, like protecting somebody's life with your life is the true hero way.
And that's the line that so he defeats Hades, gets to go back to Mount Olympus, and that's actually I wrote down the line that Zeus says to Hercules. He says, "A true hero isn't measured by the size of his strength, but by the strength of his heart."
Yeah,
Which I do like the kind of lesson and the basis of that for this kind of the central point of the movie, in that again, Hercules just thought, if I'm super strong, if I just beat all these monsters and villains, I'll be a hero. But in actuality, he has to have his heart behind all of it, and to be doing it, it's almost like he was doing it only for the recognition as opposed to just it being the right thing to do.
he was doing it because he felt like it had to be done,
And he
and it did.
deserved. I think once
But
he
he
found
had,
out that he was a god, his mentality was like, well, I deserve to be back up there.
well, that, and he wanted to be somewhere where he felt he belonged. And I think that's another big part of this movie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at
States.
the end of the movie, you know what I mean? More so towards the end of the movie where he gets his godhood and, decides she doesn't want that and, and chooses love.
Yeah, Zeus basically says, like, welcome home. You're finally able to come back and live on Mount Olympus. And I always laugh because it's kind of, it's almost like he looks at him and goes, even though I've spent the last hour and a half striving for exactly that, I'm going to go. Because yeah,
Yeah.
he chooses love. He chooses to stay on Earth with Meg. He chooses a mortal life, which now, if he chooses a mortal life, does he still have his strength?
I'm going to say sure.
Okay.
I mean, it worked before. He was immortal before. He just wasn't
Yeah, but now he's kind
all
of,
the way.
that was a kind of a happenstance. This is he's willingly and he's choosing and willingly giving up his godhood. So does he lose the abilities that come with said godhood?
I don't know. They didn't explain it, so it could be, it could not be. Who knows? It's not like he took a
Kids aren't
potion
asking
or
these questions,
anything
so
like
they probably don't
before.
care.
Exactly. I'm gonna assume he's still because he is a god or a son of gods, that he would retain something
Because I'm
because
trying.
it's not like his powers were stripped away in a way where he was drinking the potion like before. It was more of a decision, so it wasn't like anything was stripped from him. More, it was a decision not to become a part of it. I don't know, man.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember. So in the very final scene, when Hercules Zeus puts Hercules in the stars and whatnot, I'm trying to remember if there was a part where Hercules like picked anything up that you would see that he has it or doesn't have it.
Maybe subtle, but I don't think so.
I don't remember. But yeah, he gets, as I say, Zeus puts him in the stars. Everybody can see it. He's now a constellation. And Phil gets his wish. Somebody looks up at the stars and goes, "Hey, that's Phil's boy." And obviously they
Nice
did.
full circle moment. Nice little first full circle moment. Nice little
Yeah.
bow to tie the the whole movie.
And obviously
Um,
they
yeah,
animated Phil after Danny DeVito. And I would say that he looks the most Danny DeVito, in my opinion, when the guy says that and he kind of has the smile across his face. I don't know why that's when I see him the most.
there was little there was moments like that kind of scattered throughout the movie where he would change his face a little bit. He would like change his eyes or just the way his regular animated face would look. That either would be more of a cutesy Disney character or more of a Danny DeVito like expression.
But he didn't bite
I know
anybody.
exactly what
He
movie.
didn't bite anybody's nose off.
No, thank God.
That would have been an
It
interesting
changed.
turn for a kids Disney movie. But so yeah, that's the end of the movie. Everybody lives happily ever after. Hades is defeated. Hercules is with Meg, and everything in the land of Greece is the way it should be.
Mm.
As Disney would say, the end. Now, lastly, we're going to move on to our final thoughts. Juan, this was your suggestion. I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Yeah, no, this is one of my I'd say definitely one of my favorites, even still, after rewatching it. I liked it as much as I did then as I do now. Um, I do appreciate the how bright and vibrant uh of a ride it was through Greek mythology. The the whole zero to hero story in a nutshell was I like I like my stories where that is the aspect to it. Um, you know, I do appreciate even though the accuracy is way off, I do like the mythology, the Greek mythology in this. And I just like their take on it. Uh, the MVP of the movie is definitely James Woods. His his Disney villain is is great. He's definitely one of the all-time Disney villains, just because his just the way he approached the character of like a fast talking, almost like a car salesman delivery that he was doing, was great because he was evil, but he also was, he's very cynical. very cynical and a lot of personality. I liked it. I like the fights, the the references, the fact that they were able to merge a lot of at the time pulp culture references and they infused it with the Greek mythology. Things I didn't really like, uh, the whole the just the not the main character, but maybe just how she was written in a way, or maybe just the voice actor. Just she didn't land for me. Uh, but it was fine. Speaking of fine, the songs too, for the most part, they were good. But like I said throughout the review, they're pretty forgettable. They won't stay in your head that long. Even though they are catchy, they're just not as iconic and can't stand next to such Disney classics. It's like Hakuna Matata or, you know, uh, I Can Show You the World, just things like that. Overall, I did like the movie. Even though there wasn't a whole lot of comedy, it landed for me. The comedic little characters there, didn't mind them. Uh, Danny DeVito's character was great. Always liked him when he's in a movie. Just liked his voice and whatever character he's playing. He usually nails it. Uh, Overall, love the movie. I love the music, the gospel esque tone of a lot of the songs here. It won't work for some, but it definitely worked for me. I think it was a gamble because you don't really have this style of music with any other Disney movie. Other Disney movies are more of like a musical, like a classical musical esque feel. And I'm glad they just did something different because it could have went horribly wrong, and maybe some would agree. But I think they nailed it. Um, yeah, man, I really enjoy this movie because for the most part, it's just a movie about finding where you belong, even if you have to go the distance to find it. Uh, I give this movie an 8 out of 10.
Okay. So, for me, as I said many times through this podcast, this movie never really connected with me as a kid. Um, Connects with me even less as an adult. And a lot of that is because I don't have a lot of that nostalgia towards it. I will say that overall, I did more or less enjoy the movie. I wouldn't say it's terrible. I wouldn't say it's great either. It's very middle of the road. The songs weren't my favorite. As I said, out of probably 5 or 6 songs, I really only enjoyed the one. Um, the voice acting of the main two characters of Hercules and Meg, I was kind of let down by. Obviously, the MVP of the movie is James Woods, followed closely by Danny DeVito in those voice performances. Um, I will say I loved the animation style. I was a really big fan of that. I do, as you say, as you said, I feel the same way. I love the 2D hand drawn animation that we grew up with, and this is just a little bit refined version of more of that. Again, but on the other side, not crazy about the Disneyfying of the Greek mythology, and I get some of it you needed to make more palatable because this is a kids movie. You don't really want to see some of the stuff that if you go look into some Greek mythology, you'll understand pretty quickly why they didn't probably want that on screen. But overall, I'm going to say that yeah, I enjoyed it. I would give this the softest of recommendations to people. I'd also kind of caution the people that I would recommend it to say, don't expect greatness. It's just middle of the road. And because of that, I'm going to give this movie a 6 out of 10. So that's going to take us to the end on our discussion of Hercules. And next week, we will be continuing this mini-series on our Disney animation Renaissance tour with my pick. And for my pick, we're going to go a little farther back than when this movie came out. We are going to go to 1992, and we are going to visit a whole new world of Agrabah as we watch Disney's Aladdin. Now, this is an absolute all-timer for me. This is one of my favorite one of my favorite movies growing up. And I've probably seen it 100 times. And I'm excited to watch it for number 101. So, join us next week as we watch Disney's Aladdin. As always, we would like to thank all of our listeners and all of our subscribers and followers. And we would love to ask for you guys to continue to follow us, give us a 5-star rating, give us a review, tell your friends about us, help us grow the podcast. And as always, give us a follow on our socials, which will be posted in the show notes. And until next time, take care, everybody. Take it easy.
Peace.